Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the stream. It's been a while. I know. Uh, it's been a while since we chatted, but I'm here, and we're just gonna have a fun Q&A session, a good live stream, just chilling. We might browse a little bit, talking about like what's out there for TVs. The TV landscape is like really interesting this year. I think there's a lot of go with last year opinions, and I kind of share that for sure. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about what's going on with TVs right now, the state of RGB, the state of OLED. Are you guys excited for RGB? Do you think RGB is overhyped? I want to hear all your opinions in chat. I want to hear all your questions, and I just want to chill, like just think of this as a chill stream. Hang out with me. And let's talk, man. Let's see what's going on. It's been a while. So, what's up, Mozart? I see you in the chat. You're always in the live streams. I do appreciate the support for the whole community, not just myself, but I see you in FOMO streams, and that's awesome, man. And Classy, what's up? What's up? I'm gonna send you that. I think I sent you the link. If you want to pop on at any point in time, go ahead, Classy. If not, don't worry about it. No worries, no pressure. Curious, not overly hyped at all. Yeah, it's the way I looked at RGB going into this year is I had doubts, and then I saw an RGB TV. I got hands on with it. I got a lot of experience with it, and I was excited because I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And then I got another RGB TV, and then I was a little underwhelmed by it. And then, that's about all I really want to say on that is like, I need to see more because I don't know exactly if it's a good technology or if it's just good when certain companies use it a certain way or when it's applied a certain way. And I don't even want to say certain companies because I think that there's probably better models of the company that I saw. But, when we're talking about if a TV is good or not, I always weigh it with the perspective of, look, we have a lot of TVs to select from on this price bracket. So I always weigh it based on the price bracket that it's in. And when I say that, I don't mean the current price that it is right now. It's like within its class of TVs for that year. Because if you hold it to the standard of like price right when it comes out, then automatically it's a no-brainer to buy last year's models first. But I know realistically a lot of you guys aren't buying right now. You're going to be buying like towards the end of the year, which is the best time to buy a TV if we're being honest. So if you're buying now, it's usually out of necessity because you need a TV, and that's understandable. And then sometimes you want to get the latest and greatest and you don't want to fall back on older models because it just doesn't feel good to buy from past models. Like, doesn't matter what kind of TV it is, doesn't matter what kind of electronics it is, really, like, you never really want to buy the older model. Psychologically, it's never something that you're thinking about doing, but usually it is almost always the right choice in a lot of cases. Like, take the S90F, for example. Last year's S90F, even if this year's S90H was a QD-OLED, which it's not here in States, it's all WOLED, but let's say it was QD-OLED. Like, we're talking about a big price gap in that sense, and then for people buying right now, it would always make sense to buy the S90F. But now, so even more, because of the whole thing, like we got WOLED on the S90H, really, I think Samsung dropped the ball, if we're being honest here. I feel like that was something that Samsung really just missed on completely. I don't think they understand the whole dynamic between OLED panels. I think that they view OLED panels as being very similar across the board. I don't think they view the QD-OLED as being that much better. They think it's probably a little more premium, but I think they think there's less of a gap than there actually is. And people come to me and say there's not a gap. WOLED's got just as good performance as QD-OLED. That's just not the case, guys. I don't know how many times we got to show you that on film and camera. And I just put out a short where I was showing you the difference between QD-OLED and WOLED, and that was with color luminance. And that's the really important thing to remember is like in HDR, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have BT 2020 content to see color luminance differences. You will see it in everything that is able to push colors to a high brightness. So if it really just matters on the light control level, not the light control, but the light level. So how much luminance is getting pumped in. If the colors are also a high luminance, how are they performing? Are they also going to be bright? Because if they're not, then that's usually because we're talking about like a WOLED. It's not able to get high color luminance unless we're talking about getting primary tandem RGB, which going forward, I'm just going to call it tandem WOLED or WOLED or OLED or WOLED. I actually hate the word WOLED. So tandem WOLED, that's what I'm going to call it going forward because I hate saying primary RGB all the time. But I do want to hear your guys' questions, which I will get to. You don't have to super chat, though it is appreciated if you do, though it is not required. So just know, like, I'm not just taking super chats. I'm taking all questions. But it is appreciated. So if I'm slow on chat, so if your question don't get answered right away, I'm a solo show today, running solo. So we will get to your question. I promise you. I'm going to be scrolling up a lot. So what's up to everybody? I see people are popping in now. Thank you. We got Dave, SD. Let me put the comments thing over here so it don't disappear. Can you email it to me? Yeah, I got you. So let me email this link to Classy. Nice to see you live streaming. Yeah, man. I'm glad to finally get my setup going. So the reason why I stopped live streaming is because of my camera change. So I changed to a Blackmagic camera about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and live streaming just wasn't the same. And setting up the Sony all the time was kind of like a hassle because it wasn't like a permanent setup. I didn't want it always up. So I just decided I'm just going to stream on this Pocket 3 most of the time or even use a webcam. And sometimes like my room is just always in chaos and I'm always changing things up. So I'm just very self-conscious about my surroundings for some reason. It's something I got to get over, but I like streaming. I just like streaming with people more also. I don't really like solo streaming that much, though. I'll just have to get used to it, you know. But I love doing streams with Classy. I love doing streams with Max and FOMO and Brian and Brandon. Did streams with him. Let me email you, Classy. So far I've only seen like 2 TVs this year. But I've gotten opinions from people who have hands-on with a lot of different TVs, including Classy, who has the S95H and the G6. So I don't know if you've sat in one of our streams that we did, but he showed off some things. Some good, some bad. There we go. All right, I sent the link. Now the question is being able to add you, right? We'll see. So I think there's a lot of strong opinions about the G6 out there that I definitely want to talk about. Because, yeah, nobody likes the term WOLED. I agree, man. That was a slip. That was a slip. I was like really not happy with that slip. This is interesting. This is a question kind of out of left field, Do you know where I can buy a LG Z3 2023 8K OLED? I hear it can run 8K at 100 hertz in PC mode. I actually don't know. I would imagine just some of the electronic stores, like mom and pop boutiques, might have one still. I would try like Value Electronics. Maybe they still have one, but I highly doubt it. But they're probably floating around there somewhere. I see them sometimes on Best Buy, like from third-party retailers, but I don't know um, how reliable it is. Which I have a rant about, by the way. I do have a rant about that whole marketplace thing that Best Buy is doing, and really all sites. It's just bad for everybody. But the Z3, as far as 8K at 100 hertz, I don't have any verification on that. I haven't seen that personally, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I would imagine it has some downside to it. Like, it's probably like not true 8K, because at 8K at 100 hertz seems like a pretty tall task. I'm not sure though. Amazon, yeah, Amazon's a possibility. A lot of third party. Do you know anything about us getting new QD-OLEDs? So as far as Sony goes, I know nothing. I'm not even under NDA or anything like that, so I know nothing. I know just about as much as you guys do. I'm speculating that since we got HDMI 2.1 on all 4 ports on the Bravia 3, that it would make sense to do a refresh on a lot of their models. But just because it makes sense in your head doesn't mean it makes sense for Sony. Like, logic and Sony doesn't usually go together all the time. Like, sometimes Sony doesn't care what you want. They will try to give you what you need. Like, that's the thing about Sony, is like they're different than everybody else in the respect of development. It doesn't matter if it's for cameras. It doesn't matter if it's for TVs. Like, for cameras, we've been asking for open gate for a very long time, right? Like, we're like, we need open gate on these cameras, and Sony just doesn't add them. I think they have it on the Venice, but you have to pay for it or something. But like, we've been wanting features for certain Sony things for a very long time, and it's like Sony just doesn't listen in that respect. They just kind of give you what they think you need, not what you want. So 144 hertz, oh yeah, it would be making a lot of sense to do that, right, Sony? But yet they are like the only TV manufacturer still pumping out 120 hertz, even like though like 144 hertz is not that hard to do probably. So I don't know. It's an odd thing for sure. I think that's probably one of my biggest gripes about Sony, is that they listen, but they don't really give you what they don't give what the people what they want, so to speak. They just kind of do their own thing, which I guess that's what makes them unique, right? Like, we want them at CES, we want them to show all their stuff. They want to do their own thing. With some questionable marketing, like having the influencer parties and stuff. But then like their actual like tech people can't talk about anything about it, but the influencers are like boasted about it. It's weird. But hey, man, like, that's how some of these companies roll, I guess. Let me see. How do I make this bigger? I want to be able to read these. Best upgrade for 2026. I think you're going to have to frame that better. You got to tell me what you're coming from, because I don't know the answer to that unless I know like your room, what you're coming from, and then we'll give you some options, because I don't know the actual best upgrade, but I'll give you some options on what it could be. So you said this. Somebody else said that. QM8L or G5. I would say that probably the G5, but I'd have to know your room conditions, because I know the QM8L can get pretty bright. And the moment we talk about an OLED versus an LCD, like, we have to go to the room type, because if you are in a room where it's like you can actually light control the room, and sun's not gonna be a problem. We also have to talk about, how do you like to watch TV? Are you a preference person? You always watch in vivid mode or standard mode? Or are you somebody that's going to watch in movie modes or even get your TV calibrated? Because I think if you're the latter, where you're talking about, I'm going to calibrate my TV, or I watch in movie mode and I can also light control a room, like there's no world ever that you're going to buy a LCD. I don't care what LCD, you're not going to buy that. I mean, you might, but I would say that would be a mistake for that type of room type and that type of preference, right? Like, if you are a reference person, that's your preference, then I would totally say that it's OLED over LCD by a long shot. Now, if you're on a different side where you're like, I love a lot of brightness, I pump the brightness, I do have a sunny room, I'm always like watching in a bright environment. Reflections will be a problem if I don't watch in a bright environment, or if I do watch in a bright environment, reflections are going to be a problem unless I turn the brightness up to like combat that. And I also like to watch preference mode where I'm using vivid or standard. I think then you're a candidate for LCD. But I think that's also a lot of people. So I can't like neglect that. I also want to make sure that I don't neglect those people this year, because there are people like that. And if you have that room type and that's your preference, then I really do think an OLED just is not going to be that great in that environment. Because you will say, oh yeah, it's got good reflection handling, I barely can see reflections in it. But like the moment you actually get it in that sunlit room and you see those glossy reflections, you know, you're going to be like, oh, actually, I might have overthought this a little bit. Maybe I do want a brighter TV. Because some of these newer TVs can get super bright. But I want to caution you that LCD doesn't equal brightness. That is like probably the most important rule for 2026, is that LCD doesn't equal brightness. Like, people used to associate LCDs with brightness. That is not the case anymore. There's going to be a ton of OLEDs that are brighter than a lot of LCDs out there. Now, there's also going to be LCDs out there that are going to be brighter than these OLEDs. And before anybody says anything about the comments, like, stop calling mini LED LCD or stop calling RGB LCD. It's still LCD, so we're going to call it LCD. Like, that's how it's going to be. We're not trying to confuse anybody. LCD is just transmissive, and OLED is going to be self-emissive. Plain as that. Like, it doesn't have to confuse you. But there's going to be better models of LCDs that can be brighter than OLEDs. Doesn't mean that they're necessarily better than OLEDs, but for certain room types, they could be. So I think it all just depends on your use case, your room type, and what's your preference. Like, if you are somebody that watches standard and vivid, you may gravitate more towards LCD. You can play with it a little bit more in that respect. But you can definitely push OLEDs too. Like, let me see what Othman says. He says, last year you tricked me between the Bravia 8 Mark II or 9. I went with the 8 Mark II, but I think the Bravia 9 would be the better bet. Not sure if my sense tells me. I'd love to hear the reasoning behind that, because I honestly think that the Bravia 9 is a great TV, but putting it against the Bravia 8 Mark II is like, it's not even fair. The Bravia 8 Mark II just kills that TV. Like, that's just my personal opinion. But when I put the Bravia 9 next to the G4, that was so unbelievable. Like, the G4 was light years better almost in certain scenes. So like, that's the thing, is like, Bravia 9, it was good. It could get to a certain brightness, yeah. But like, the moment you start pushing the brightness on the Bravia 9, that color is just gone, bro. Like, it does not hold color very well at all. And I think that's been the problem with LCDs, which is why I was sort of excited about RGBs. And I was like, all right, we got a chance with RGBs. If they can get that color luminance up and hold the color right, then we got a chance. But it's just going to depend, I think, on the TV for that. But I would love to hear your reasoning behind that. Like, I really love these debates, especially when it comes down to the Bravia 8 Mark II and the Bravia 9 because I see people like saying like, all right, the Bravia 9 is going to be better for me. And I guess maybe an SDR, because you can definitely crank the brightness up in SDR if you need it to combat that sunlit room. So the room really does matter more than anything. And if you see I'm answering questions out of order, like somebody asked a question later than you and I'm answering their question first, don't get offended. I'm just grabbing things off the screen. I'm still looking and getting back here in the chat. So I don't think I got anything calling in yet. Okay, Classy still didn't call in, so I didn't miss the call. Actually, is Max here? Because I'll send him an invite too. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, Max is here. What's up, Max? Do you want the invite? Because you could join if you want to. That way I could entertain chat, or you could entertain chat, talk to him too while I look through some of these questions. Like, one thing I gotta give props to whoever does solo streaming. This is hard, man, because you gotta look through all these questions and then like get everything right, you know. But I don't mind it as long as you guys have patience with me a little bit. Yeah, D Nice in the chat. What's up? What's up, Dwayne? We got a lot of familiar faces. 8K is worthless. Yeah, I don't think 8K really ever was done right. Like, I just think it wasn't fleshed out right. Because 8K, I've seen some impressive 8K with 8K footage on an 8K set. I've seen some impressive 8K. The problem is we just don't have the medium for it. Like, we don't have the media out there for it. So it's like, believe it or not, like most stuff is able to be shot in 8K. Like, these cameras are capable of it. We just don't have the delivery systems for it. I think 8K was just too big of a jump. Like, we probably should have went to like 6K first or like 5K. Because that extra resolution is nice, but we just need that we need stuff to play with it, right? Because like, if you take, for example, if you go to a 27-inch 4K monitor to a 27-inch 5K monitor, right? Like, I have the Apple Display XDR, which is 5K, and I was looking at a 27-inch OLED, and this 5K XDR is mini LED. But when I go to the mini LED 5K, I still think that that's a little bit better than the OLED that I was looking at. So it's like, I don't think resolution is worthless. I just think that there's a better way to do it, and we just didn't do it. I think 8K was more of like a gimmick, a marketing gimmick that was never fully fleshed out. And that's unfortunate because I think we could benefit from better resolution if it was done right. I mean, I might just be like hopeful thinking though. I might be just optimistic about that more than other people. I'm not giving up on it though, because I love this display XDR. I think that it's pretty sick. Like, the clear text and everything is just it's still kind of unbelievable to me. It makes me want Apple to make TVs. Like, I really wish Apple would make TVs. I would love to see their take on a TV. Is Sony true RGB? That's what they say. I can't wait to see what Sony's got cooked up. Because from what I heard from everybody that saw it, they liked it a lot. Now, I think you got to take that with a grain of salt, not because they saw it and they liked it a lot, but because when you are put in these environments, sometimes you can look at these demos and you can be like really skewed towards it. So here we go, Classy. What's up, man? Oh, hold on. I gotta put them in. I gotta add them to the right. Oh, that's big. How do you make that smaller? Hold on. I will bring you in. On here. Can you say something? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up? Could chat? Can you hear Classy? Just type yes, and then I'll know. Um, I think I just gotta add this overlay of guest one. Let's see.
And my feed on Ecamm is all pixelated and looks like crap.
Oh, you look clear, dude. On
For
mine.
you, I'm saying you look like just all pixelated and low res
Oh,
for me.
but on the
Here,
stream I looked okay.
yeah, on my phone
Okay,
watching your
okay,
stream
okay,
on Ecamm, it comes across bad.
okay. Oh, here we go. We got you. We got you added in. All right, we'll put you in the corner there. Actually, let me put you in the left corner so I can see you and chat a little bit better. All right, what's up, man? How you doing?
So instead of guy on the left, I'm guy in the left corner.
Yeah, left corner. Man, it feels good to stream again. I'll say that. Uh,
Okay, now it cleaned up. Now it
bro,
looks
you
normal.
you look clean right now. The heck kind of what kind of webcam are you using? You using your
I'm
camera?
not a webcam, it's my camera. Yeah.
Oh wow, dang. I'm sitting here like looking all fuzzy, and you got like the
Because
ultra
there's
clean.
18 feet behind me before there's anything else. So
They're like
with
super
a
well lit and everything. Dang, coming in with the quality, bro.
so how's it going?
It's good, man. How's the testing
And
of
the monitor
the
check.
G6?
I'm done. Like that's all. Like,
He's like, I'm hanging up. I'm out of here.
I just don't have the time to put into it for there to be like update and then an update and then an update and then it's like fix this thing, break that thing, and then have to do retesting. It's just like I'll give it 3 months and I'll check it again.
Yeah,
So as of right now, I just don't recommend it in general. Calibration will fix most of the problems. So if you're gonna get it calibrated, maybe it's a different story. But I don't think it offers anything over the G5 at this point to be worth the price difference anyway. So I would just say just get a G5, and then
yeah,
like the latest update dropped it down to 2450 nits, which is right in line with the G5 anyway. So I don't know, and I see zero benefit of it over the S95H. Obviously, the bezel, again,
yeah.
not
Right.
ideal, but S95H I have zero complaints with. Um, it's not perfect, but
Hmm.
it is the least compromised and most overall, just good, no real problems. So if you're looking for a flagship and you can put velvet or something on the bezel and deal with it, then the S95H is just like my go-to right now. So
Yeah. Hey, is Classy louder than me or is it good? I don't know. If you guys think he's louder or I'm louder or too loud or anybody's or if the levels are good, let me know. I can adjust it. But I hear you on TVs that are like released half baked. It's driving me nuts lately.
it's not even
Uh,
half baked anymore.
it's
Like
I guess it's not even really done. It's like not even
it's
close
like
to
the
done.
G6 is not even a beta product. It's like alpha. Like
Yeah.
it should not have been released. They should go to a 2-year cycle like Sony or something at this point.
Yeah, and explain to people that this isn't just things that you're seeing because you're a professional calibrator. Like this is stuff that people will experience if they buy the G6 in some shape or form,
Hmm.
right? Like for example, what you're talking about with the Dolby Vision, you're talking about how it's like super crushed. Like
Yeah, that's out of the
that
box.
would
Again,
be something
calibration
you'll
will fix a lot,
notice. Yeah.
but me and Dwayne and Sammy and whoever, like we can only get to so many of them. So percentage wise, generally speaking, for most people, the G5 is in a better place right now than the G6 and costs less.
Yeah.
So, and then the S95H, yeah, basically no real issues. The 55-inch, like I'm working with Samsung to get that addressed. I don't want to put out how I fixed it
Hmm.
publicly, because they're on it. Like they're looking into it. It's being investigated. We're trying to make sure that it's a actual widespread thing. It may have just been the first batch. It may have been, you know, panel lottery thing, whatever. But aside from that, which again isn't that big a deal anyway, and that's only for the 55s. There's nothing really to complain about it, as long as you're not looking at like PAL interlaced, 50 hertz type stuff that Vincent has complaints about. But for the US anyway, there's no motion problems, there's no processing issues really. After calibration, the S95H I would say is in the top tier of best HDR color that you can get on a residential display.
Yeah. And I think that like that last thing you said about the motion is pretty important to note, because I think people forget that we are, when I say we, we're talking about the US, like we're on a different like frequency than Europe. So like our motion is gonna be different sometimes. So the experience with motion is going to vary. So if there's problems with broadcast content in the UK, we might not have that problem here in the US. So when we don't mention that part, it's not because we forgot it. It's just because it's not happening for us. So like that happens with a number of TVs that I've seen. And also like certain regions get a different build altogether. Like their TVs are tuned different. Like from color to motion to even the parts that are inside the TV.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's it's when you're in the service menu, you can see like the model numbers for like every model on the Samsung. So there's model numbers in there that would indicate 77-inch WRGB OLED for the S95.
Yep,
That's
it's
going to be
Australia.
certain regions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Imagine
And
that.
I confirmed the 48-inch S95 is in there, so it's listed. It's technically real.
Yeah, it
But
is.
is it a physical product you can buy somewhere? I've yet to find out.
So it is on the UK website. I saw that the 48-inch S95F is on the UK website. Now, whether or not that's a tandem WOLED, I don't know. That's something for somebody to test in the UK. But it'd be interesting. It's crazy that like there's not a lot of transparency out on the panels. I feel like that's where we kind of dropped the ball, not calling them out more. I mean, I tried to call them out more on that, but I really think that more people got to call them out on that, because
It's still an uphill battle.
we should know that. Like,
It's not going to win.
I gotta continuously show people the difference in WOLED versus QD-OLED when it's the same like level. It's like night and day on certain colors, and when you get to a certain color luminance, like that short that I put out, people are like, "Oh, you just juiced the S90F." I'm like, "No, like this is just filmmaker mode out of the box on both." So
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know
and
what you're gonna do.
the S90F last year had that reduction in color luminance issue,
Right?
and like it got really blown out of proportion, I think, to a lot of people.
It did.
Whereas like the LG's is the G6, as I was measuring it, and it's like even after you make it accurate, the color luminance is fine until you get up to say like 60% stimulus, with 60 to 80% saturation. Then you see that it just can't keep up anymore.
Yeah.
It's just even on their best panels, it's the way it is.
You have any
I see a lot
thoughts?
of talk about Dolby Vision. That's
Yeah.
funny because it brings up my thoughts on Dolby Vision too.
Oh yeah.
I
I'd
I
love to hear
throw
that.
that away. I don't want it. I'm sorry. Like I'm fine and all for like Dolby Vision from the creative perspective, but this is too far. They are putting motion de-judder setting in control of, or that control in the hands of the colorist. So a colorist can decide on this scene I want de-judder 5, and then you have soap opera effect for that scene. Like
Yeah.
this is not
Not
the
great.
way that it should work.
Yeah.
And just making it backwards compatible with everything else. So we're just going to boost brightness wherever we want it. Then everything is bright. Then nothing was special. Then you've lost all artistic intent from the creators. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Dolby Vision 2 to me is something I will just ignore.
to me it's like
There's going to be no way
IQ.
to
It's like
measure
I
it. There's
don't
going to be
use
no way to say if
IQ.
it's good because there's no
Yeah.
way to it's not there's no bar, there's no metric for it. So there's no way, like, if someone says, is Sony's Dolby Vision 2 implementation going to be good or not, there's no answer for that because it's all going to be subjective.
Right. So it's like I don't know, man. To me it reminds me of Dolby Vision IQ a little bit. Like
It's an expansion of that. That's basically what it
yeah,
is.
because like if I look at Dolby Vision IQ, it's like so different on every TV, but it also is somewhat similar to like it's basically like a tamer version of like a standard or vivid mode almost. Like it doesn't feel like to me like anywhere close to Dolby Vision Dark, which is usually what the creator's intent is. So it's like why would I do that if the whole thing about Dolby Vision is creator's intent? Like I guess like if you want to pump the content for yourself, then that's an option, but I don't
Yeah, I mean,
know.
and it's like Dolby Vision is not inherently good or bad. It is a
Right.
tool set. It is a tool set for creators.
Yeah.
So there's benefit there. It's how it's used. Dolby Vision 2 is how do we expand the content into the special features of the TVs that go against creative intent, and then try to manipulate the message into saying that it still is when it's not.
Yeah.
That's where I have a problem.
I'm going to blow this up so it's just like the whole entire stream because I think this is a really important comment. There is no such thing as true black in a bright room. Exactly. Which
Uh,
is like
Not necessarily. Black is not a color. It is an
right,
absence of light.
but I think like people's perception of it though.
Mm-hmm.
I get
Well,
what
in
he's
this case,
saying.
contracts. You can't see it.
Yeah.
So even if there is something that happened to be completely shaded over in a corner or whatever in a room of light, your eyes would not be able to perceive it as black, even if it was.
Yeah. So
So that's the whole QD-OLED raised black thing in a bright room doesn't really matter because you can't perceive the contrast. You know, if I have all these lights on in here and I have my screen raised and I'm using a projector, it doesn't look bad because the contrast loses its impact.
exactly.
Contrast matters in a dark room.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why it's like when you get to when you get to showing an LCD versus an OLED, if you show that in a dark room, it'll be ridiculously known that what is an OLED, what is an LCD, for most people. Like if you do that in a bright room, that goes down a little bit. Like the perception of that goes down a little bit. Now, will you and I be able to tell? Yes. But like, will the common person be able to tell? Probably not. And especially at a certain distance. When you get further away from the TV, you lose the benefits of that TV. I've always said, like, every TV looks pretty good from a distance. Wouldn't you say, like, for the most part? So when you're talking about should you get an LCD for a bright room, I think if it can get brighter than what you would, it can get brighter than the OLED, and you need it to get brighter than that OLED, then the answer is most likely probably going to be yes for your room in that situation. But it depends on what you watch too.
I have yet to find an LCD that is actually brighter than, and I'm going to say in quotes brighter, because the perception of what brightness is wrong for in general.
Right.
An LCD that hits 10,000 nits or more does not mean that that's what it's going to be in content, for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
If there is any evidence of, let's say, 8,500 nits on an LCD in actual real movie scene, I will send someone $10 if they can prove that measured.
Yeah. Right.
Like it doesn't exist. Yeah, you can crank up the EOTF. Like, yeah, you can have a 10,000 nit TV that tracks EOTF correctly, and then you can have a 500 nit TV that overtracks EOTF. The 500 nit TV is brighter.
Yeah. I think HDR content, that's definitely like my experience with it too. But like with SDR, I do think there's still an exception to that rule with like just regular content. Like if you're watching sports and you need to get the TV to be super bright for that room,
The problem then
um,
is then
then
it
I think
becomes
it does have a
so
little bit more benefit.
desaturated and
Y-
awful looking. It's just like the Bravia
For
9. You could
sure.
get over 1,000 nits in SDR. The gamma shits the bed. The color is
Y-
completely washed out. It looks terrible.
Yeah. So, for example, on the UR9, when I push up the brightness, I don't get that sense as much, which is brand new to me for LCDs. So, that's a good thing. And I think so in that respect, I like that about RGB. It seems like you can push it up higher now and not lose the color as much. I don't think though that the color purity is ever going to be on the level of QD-OLED, but I do think it has improved from like regular mini LED. But like, yeah, I think it still is warranted that you could recommend an LCD in a bright room if you're watching regular content. But you do have to keep in mind LCD doesn't equal brightness, like I was saying earlier, because I'm looking at one right now. I promise you, this is probably not going to be over 1500 nits. There's no way. Like when I'm looking at it, I could just tell it's like, this is not a super bright TV. So I'm looking at why would I buy this over an OLED TV that can get to the same brightness level? I'm like losing every benefit that there was. Any reason to buy an LCD is now out the window if you have an OLED that could get the same brightness, especially when we get to darker content where it's going to dim down the highlights. Like, for example, that picture I sent you, Classy, where the neon lights were like compressed and they were looking dimmer there. Like,
Hmm.
on an OLED, that's not going to look like that. It's going to be super
Yeah,
bright.
that's not gonna happen.
It's self-emissive. So when we're talking about same price in that price bracket, there's no world where I recommend LCD. Like there's no world.
Yeah, it's for me. It's if your budget's like 600 bucks or less, you're looking at LCDs.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to go 98 and above, you're looking at LCDs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're there for. Though I would also argue that you should be looking at ALR screens with projection in a bright room at that size and price range or whatever, but that's a little more complicated and
It
not
is.
everyone's into
It is a little bit of a different setup.
it. Uh, so I don't know. Like the only RGB LCD that I'm have any like expectations is the Sony.
I'm
Um,
excited for the Sony.
yeah, so that one I'll definitely give a shot, but and I'm sure I'll look at and test the Samsung R90, or is it 95?
95H.
95, yeah, 95H. I'm so used to QN90. It's
I
so
know.
weird that doesn't exist
Yeah.
anymore.
I got a video coming up about that. It's going to be interesting. I'll just say
That was
that.
like the one LCD every year that I would just
I know.
test anyway.
That was our
Even
LCD,
though
man. We would always check that out. We'd always go back and forth with our feedback together about those. I was like, yeah, that's dead now, pretty much. At least maybe they release it later. I don't know. But for the most part, I think it's done.
but yeah, and people don't realize too that even at a lower quote unquote brightness level, contrast and perceived contrast still affects how you see brightness. And this is like in the projector world,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a lower lumen output JVC with better contrast look brighter than an Epson with lower contrast and higher brightness.
Yeah.
So it depends on the room, and bright room is so subjective and variable. You know,
Yeah.
do you have 10-foot bay windows across your entire wall and you're in Florida, or are you in a room like this with 5 lamps?
Right.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think the rooms that do have a lot of sunlight coming in, that's where it does get complicated, and it's not just an OLED fits all answer. So that's why I'm gonna be a little cautious when I talk about like bright rooms because I do, I do run into situations where I will see a huge glare on the OLED, and I'm like, I couldn't live with this, bro. Like I really couldn't live with this.
See, in this room, which has a lot of lights like lamps and whatnot, the coating on the S95 is perfect
They would be yeah,
because it's not like incredibly bright in here, but it blocks out seeing those reflections of those lamps and lights behind me.
Yeah. So
However, if I was in a room that had 3 giant bay windows facing the TV, then no, that won't work because it'll just wash it out too much. It'll look white
right.
or gray, like gray, whatever.
If they hit the TV. If they don't hit the
So,
TV and
yeah, if it's
you're
if
getting
that's
reflections because
facing
the
the
light's
TV, if
coming
the
in,
TV is looking at these bay windows,
yeah.
that's not a good place for it.
Right.
That's not a good place for any TV, but um, that's especially not good for the coating that's on the S95.
Yeah, we need like a model, like a 3D model where we can aim the light and then show like the reflections that could possibly. It's too advanced for me, but there are situations though where you have light coming in, it's not directly hitting the TV, and it's just filling the room with light. So therefore, you're going to have your whole room just reflections on the TV. You're gonna basically have a mirror for a TV, even though the light's not directly hitting it. In that situation, the S95H coating is perfect because you don't have any actual like direct sunlight on the TV or direct light in the TV. That's where the S95H gets in trouble, is if you do have a bright light reflecting in the TV
Mhm.
or on the TV. So
I'm trying to monitor the chat on my phone while we're talking.
is there bad people in
Um,
here?
no,
Oh,
but
okay.
there's a discussion, and I want to back Dwayne up on this. So there was FOMO and Brian did the stream recently at Value Electronics, and there was a G5 in there. It was a 65 inch. I don't know for certain. I wasn't there, but I would wager that that G5 that was there was the one from the shootout, and I'm pretty sure Dwayne did some things in the like the service menu that you wouldn't be able to factory reset, or not factory reset, but just like by resetting the picture mode wouldn't change it.
Mm-hmm.
So on camera, if that one was calibrated and correct, the G6, the C6H, and the S95 all are going to look more red on camera because they were wrong. They were too red, whereas the G5 was the one who was right. But the camera is going to make the G5 look green, so people think that that looks worse, even though it was probably the one that was the most correct.
Yeah.
So there is no green tint on the G5 or G6 or C6H. When you measure them, they actually have too much like of an orangey look to them. You need to add green to them to fix that.
Yeah.
Now, if you go off angle on a G6, then things turn more green. So there's that, but that's not a green tint, from normal viewing.
Yep. That's why I'm gonna blow up this comment right here. Never ever
Looking
compare.
and trying to judge the TVs
Judge
through the
color.
camera on YouTube, It doesn't work.
Nope. It doesn't work. And like also for all those people shooting TVs with their camera, if you're ever trying to shoot a side-by-side comparison, good luck. It doesn't work unless you white balance each TV. And that is also not going to solve all the problems, but it's going to at least make it more watchable for people.
Yeah, Dwayne just confirmed the one that was there was the one from the shootout, was corrected in the service menu, and the G5 during that stream was the one that was accurate. It was the other three showing that they were more warm, orange, red, magenta, whatever, because they weren't calibrated.
Yeah. Oh,
if you actually can pull up like the post that I shared earlier, either on my YouTube or
yeah,
X,
I can do that.
like that chart will just show how in the measurement out of the box it shows too much red and a little bit too much blue. And so like if you got a G6 and you just want to go in the user menu 2-point, because generally the G series is pretty consistent with their white point, I had to add 12 clicks of green and 8 clicks of blue to the gains for the white balance with it at warm 40. And yeah, so that's how I got to correct white on the G6 that I had. So it could be 10 green and 5 blue or 6 blue, whatever. Either way, you got to add quite a bit of green, a little bit of blue to get it to closer to reference white.
That was my face. Too big. I pressed the wrong button. Yeah, let me pull up that chat.
And actually, I think that those pictures are after I did that correction, but still, like,
yeah, here you go.
You have to add green and mostly green and a bit of blue to fix the white on them.
Here you go. I'll just have to cover my face for this one. But yeah, here it is. Here is the post he's talking about for the G6, and this was a update firmware, the newest firmware, and this is in
Well, let's
Dolby
compare. So I
Vision.
had it on .67,
Mm-hmm.
ran through my entire suite. So I guess I didn't word it the best when I said that I'm indefinitely with, pausing any more testing. It's because I just spent all these hours getting all the measurements, testing everything with .67. Then I update to see what they changed, and then I see they made dramatically worse in Dolby Vision. Again, out of the box, not calibrated, but and then at that point, it's just like this is just going to be another like last year. So I'm not going to just test every single update for little change here, little change there that fixes this and breaks that. So I just don't have the time for it. So I'll come back to it in a few months and see where it's at.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Like, that's
One of the biggest reasons that people think that the LGs are greenish or whatever is because on camera next to a QD-OLED, the QD-OLED is going to look more magenta, even though in person it's the exact opposite. If you calibrate both displays with the same equipment to D65 or the same white point or whatever, then the QD-OLED is going to look more cyan and the WRGB is going to look more pink. But on
mm-hmm.
camera, it's completely reversed. So people in their mind have that because that's what they keep seeing over and over.
Yeah. Yep. That is the biggest comment that I always see is like, why is this so purple? Why is this magenta? It's like, what? And it's not. Just it's the camera, which is thankfully not happening that much anymore ever since I started to do the white balancing and stuff. But it still does happen. Where else we got here? Trying to look through comments and questions. I'm definitely gonna miss some questions. If you have a question and you did ask it, and I missed it, do ask it again.
Yeah, and the other problem too with not just the G6, a lot of displays as they get lower in brightness, the grayscale does not, the RGB balance doesn't stay the same. That's one thing that Sony is actually really good at until you get really, really close to black. But generally speaking, on a Sony, the red, green, and blue balance throughout the grayscale is consistent. Samsung, I would say, is getting really close to that as well. LG, so like on the G6, as I'm measuring it, all the lower points closer to black are way orange, and then it starts to move and become more like pinkish magenta. So like there's a lot more variance throughout the grayscale on the G6 out of the box. Again, that's all stuff that can be fixed when you calibrate it, but again, 99 whatever percent won't.
Yeah.
And then also like I know the dithering thing gets brought up on a 55 inch from about what'd that be 7.5 feet. I could see dithering all the way from just out of black through like 25% or so stimulus. So it's very excessive, at
Well,
least with this
really?
firmware.
On the G6?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, a lot of people complained about that on the G5. It was something where when I hooked it up as a monitor last year, I would probably not buy it as a monitor personally, because
Mm-hmm.
that would kind of be something I notice and catch and be like, I don't like that. But it's usable. It's just it you'll notice it. So I think that would probably
Honestly, I think
go
the
for
G4 is
some
still the best. Like if someone has a
dude.
G4,
Seriously, yeah. Like I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, the
if I could
G4
track
was
down an
so
83 G4
impressive.
for a good
Yeah,
price, I'd probably buy it.
yeah,
I wish I didn't sell mine.
yeah. And then like I did title this stream, "Is the G6 bad or trash?" I think I
Is it
don't think
trash?
it's
No.
trash. I don't
If
think it's
you're
trash.
if you're
I
putting
put
it
that
on,
in there because that was one of the questions I got asked, that I
no,
thought
that's
was
what I'm saying.
pretty
Like people think
extreme.
if they need to criticize something that you're calling it trash. It's not
Yeah,
trash. It's just these are
exactly.
things that are inexcusable at this point for a flagship 2 years now running to have these problems. Like like I
Yeah,
said, just don't force it out in April. hold it, fix it,
Yeah,
and quit showing at the events where they show these, TVs, and they're not showing retail units. They're showing these pre-production samples with engineering firmware instead of retail samples with retail firmware,
yeah.
and there's this huge disconnect between them. And don't send them out to reviewers to review when it's not final.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you just like pretty much digging your own grave if you're doing that. Especially if you're dealing with people that will call you out, like we will. Um, Cause like the moment I see something that's like remotely wrong with the TV, I will. This is my process. Usually, if it's bad, and I think it can be fixed with a firmware update, I'll try to reach out to the company, and I'll be like, "Hey, check this issue out. I'll still be talking about it in an upcoming video, but you should know about it because I do want it to get fixed for everybody. It's something that's pretty unfortunate. And whether I'm doing an independent review or I'm working with the company, it doesn't matter. It's the same process. Like I don't really put any favoritism towards any brand. I could care less about whatever brand you want. Like they're all TVs to me. I
Yep.
evaluate them as that, and like, are they better? Are they making technology better? Like that's I just want to see improvements each year in technology. That's why I even got into this in the first place, is because I like looking at the upper end and how we evolve there. Because like other than that, like, and I also like the mid range because I think it does present like best bang for your buck scenario for people, which is makes me sad this year. What happened with the S90H? I think that's
Yeah.
a crime, honestly, like a crying shame.
Yes, IDF while you still can, if that's what you're
Seriously,
going after. Like,
yeah, seriously, go buy the S90F if
and
you're in
actually, you
that
can
price
get the
bracket.
S95F. Like, if you're okay with an open box
Yep.
for like 77-inch for around $2,000, like
Yeah, if you don't
that's
mind the one connect box, it's a good move. I think that's, dude. I think
and the coding. But
that's the biggest thing for me. It was the one connect box is why I never would personally ever buy the 95.
so in the prior years, definitely had issues. The F, didn't experience any issues, even gaming at 165 and everything. So
It wasn't the issues. It was more so just the fact that it's disconnected from the TV. Like I don't like the separate box. Um, so
I mean,
it's just a
to me,
preference
with a
thing.
short cable,
But
you mount it on the stand on the back of the TV, or wall mount. You can still mount it on the back of the TV. It's not that much of a problem, but I mean, I get it.
yeah, yeah. I think it's like just knowing in the back of my mind that if this messes up, my TV's broken. If this box does decide to like malfunction, that's another failsafe. Um, Not failsafe, but possible fail unit. So that's why I never really was on the 95 train for like a personal TV. That's like I'm never gonna do that.
Uh, I'm sorry. There's just a lot of back and forth in the chat, and it's just like this happens every year, and it's just, I guess, on our side of the view, we realize that like there's no point in arguing a lot of
Yeah.
this because in the end it doesn't matter. They all have their own problems and whatever. But again, that's just the way people are, the way the internet is. Um, Again, like I'm gonna criticize problems, but at the end of the day, I'm also gonna say that like all the premium and flagship OLEDs at least are, generally speaking, excellent TVs that anyone would be happy to have.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also want to say this like a lot of the criticisms we have are because people are paying money for these TVs and we want you to be able to get the best experience for your money possible. And the big deal is like people will say like, "Hey, I'm going to go buy this TV at the store. It's good. I like it when I set it up. That's cool." But you also have to know that like these are the issues. We don't want you to run into these issues later and regret your decision, that kind of thing. We're not trying to make people feel bad about their decision or say like, "Oh, you did this, it's a mistake." It's not like that. It's more so like giving people awareness of what's out there, because if you're talking about like a 90H versus a 90F for that reason we just gave with the QD-OLED, it's quite a big difference, that it has to be shown and called out. so people know, like, you can actually just get a better TV. Not even like subjectively a better TV, objectively just a better TV. Like everything about that panel, other than like the raised black thing, which is like very manufactured in my opinion. Like you can see it, yes, if you shine light on it, but I don't think it's going to be that impactful compared to the benefits you're getting from a QD OLED. Like off-angle viewing, way better on QD OLED. Like
especially
it's
this year.
not even close. Yeah.
Hang on, I
So,
gotta
you
check.
good?
I'll be right back.
You good? I'll shrink you. Well, that's really small. I don't even know if I can bring them back. I went like Willy Wonka on them. But yeah, no, like I think that's the main point that I want to deliver to people is you'll hear me criticize TVs, and you might say like, it's a good TV though. Like, I'll still acknowledge it's a good TV, but we also have to acknowledge that we have to always weigh it against the competition, and we always have to weigh it with what's out there. So I don't want people to understand. Like, I want people to understand that they have options, and it's not just one way. Because what made me upset about the whole TV space when I got into it is it was all just like buy an LG OLED, buy an LG OLED, buy an LG OLED. And it was like, okay, yeah, those are great TVs, but also what about the other TVs that are around it? And then like that year that the A80J came out, and I saw the A80J compared to the C1, I was like, well, it's not cut and dry that you want to buy the C1 here. Like it's really not cut and dry. There's reasons to buy the A80J. I actually could think of many reasons to buy the A80J over the C1. And even for gaming. And I think that is where I just do not like the blanket statements where it was like just buy an LG OLED because everybody says it's great. So I wanted to challenge them on that. Like I wanted to make sure people know like, hey, there's actually problems with LG OLEDs. Like check out the game mode. It's not as good as everybody says. So
Yeah, so I would take an LG OLED over any LCD any day.
for sure, yeah,
But
no,
it's funny.
like
I was talking
no
to
doubt
Tomo
about that.
earlier, and like I told him, because he was like, "Oh, so it's not even that great for gamers." I was like, "Yeah, it is." Like, I don't even know how many years in a row at this point that if you're gaming on it, I would say don't use the game mode. Use Filmmaker for gaming with the ALM turned on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every year there is a problem with the game mode.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to like posterization and just not being able to clean it up right. It's like
This year, it's measurable where you
mhm.
can see in lower stimulus levels the red tracking
That's crazy to me.
towards orange, and that it literally. And I know that people talk about someone else and saying blood orange reds whatever. This is not that. This is
No,
something
no, no,
completely
no, no,
different.
no.
This
Mm-mm.
is the red is actually shifted to orange through certain stimulus levels in game mode when you're playing games. But if you go to filmmaker mode, it doesn't do that, and it follows red how it should.
Yeah. No, I saw that and that would immediately drive me crazy. Like, cause it wasn't just like I don't know, man. It almost seemed like it was desaturating the reds. Like it looked bad. Um, so that's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, this isn't a 1% issue that only you're gonna run into because you calibrate TVs. It's not that, and I think there's this perception out there that that was the case. No, this is actually like everyday use case is affected right now. It's not recommended to buy the G6 because of a lot of these reasons. Um, so
Yeah, and
it just
then
has to be said. I mean, it doesn't mean that the TV is trash, and it certainly is fixable. But I'm not gonna give companies the benefit of the doubt that they're gonna fix stuff. Like if you released it like this, you deserve the criticism.
well, and especially it's going to take. This is not going to be a quick fix. This is not going to be 2 firmwares or 3 firmwares from now that everything gets ironed out. It is going to be whack-a-mole for the
Yeah,
rest of the year.
yeah. Like I shredded Sony last year for their posterization.
And
Like
then they didn't. They fixed it,
they
but it
fixed it, but
came
it
in
was like
November.
late. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
now, like, if you're willing to accept that the Sony is going to reduce some of its brightness over time, while you have the display, the 8 Mark II otherwise doesn't really have that many downsides.
Hmm.
You might have some HDMI issues like I did and a couple other people I know, but that's hit or miss. Um, Otherwise, like I can approve and recommend an 8 Mark II or the A95L. Like they've got most of their stuff worked out. Future Sony OLEDs, again, as long as we assume that they're going to dim over time and you know that going in, chances are they're going to be, still recommendable. But well, that's not guaranteed because as of the G4, LG was had momentum and then they dropped the ball with the G5 and now the G6.
Yeah,
Samsung,
I
the
don't know.
25B had all those firmware issues. Since then, there really hasn't been a firmware issue
No,
until HGG got cut last year.
yeah,
But then they added
that
that
was
back.
weird.
They fixed that. But otherwise, picture quality hasn't changed. So with any TV, though, I'm going to say you want it to buy it in the shape that you expect it to be in.
For sure.
So don't buy a TV hoping that firmware is
Exactly.
going to fix something. And then when you buy it, do not connect it to the internet. It doesn't matter what brand it is. Use external boxes. You're going to have better motion that way if you do anyway. And then every once in a while, just check, hey, is there an update that isn't going to break something but adds a feature that I want? Then you can update.
Look at the comment. So
And then you disconnect it.
I see this comment a lot, and I mean, I
So
guess
I
if you're a
can't see
new
your comments
viewer,
on screen.
you can. So it says this guy is biased against LG. I think he's talking about me. He might be talking about you, but I can tell you for a fact, Classy isn't biased against LG, and I can tell you for a fact I'm not. But if we want to go
The three
there,
TVs I own in my house are LG OLEDs.
right? I think every TV that you've ever wanted to buy was LG mostly, except for A80J. Like I think that was like the only exception.
Well, and like I bought the A95L,
Right?
and
Yeah.
then noticed all the problems, and then it like got rid of
Yeah.
that, and
Right. Right.
eventually got the G4. I was happy with the G4. Again, I shouldn't have sold it.
Yeah. No,
Now
the G4 was so good.
an S95F for a bit until the S95H comes down in price, and then that's going to be the TV that I have for however long.
Yeah, and I did me, the guy that's always hating on LG, I guess. I did say the G4 was my favorite TV of the year. That year, I love that TV. I didn't have many problems with it. I thought there was like barely any posterization in most content. I thought like you could go and look for things, but it was just clean, man. Like I didn't have an issue with that TV at all. I loved the way that it handled the processing. I loved the way that it was doing the tone mapping. It just was good. The only complaint was like maybe you wanted to change to professional and then like lower the thing, but to get the color to come back a little bit. But that's about it.
No,
Um,
I think that comment was towards someone in the chat, not one of us.
oh, okay. Sorry, sorry about that.
Yes, actually, my main display that I use for if I had time and I were going to watch a movie. Let's give the chat, even though some people in here know what it is, let's give the
Okay,
chat like
yeah.
2 minutes to put the brand of the company that makes my main display that I'm going to watch a movie on if I have time to watch a movie. Let's see what they say.
Oh, I think I know this, but I'm not gonna say.
Hmm.
I'll be surprised if I get it wrong.
Hmm.
So yeah, we'll give them a little bit of a time to think about that. Um, man,
I see a comment. Almost all Classy's calibration videos are Samsung for a reason. As a calibrator, Samsung leaves no shortage of work.
wow.
The Samsung displays the last couple of years have been what you could generally say is the most accurate out of the box. Um, no, there have like with the G5. I'm not going to review some. I don't review anything to begin with.
Right.
I'm not going to put out an evaluation video on something that is in continual progress stage. I'm going to wait for it to come out, or be at a reasonable point. Um, and so like the that's just the way that it's been.
You know,
Dwayne said Vizio.
he said classy doesn't,
The
but
last
tech
Vizio I
does.
had was a 2016 P series, so whatever that
Bro,
was.
that TV. I love that TV. The P series? You kidding me? That
Hmm.
TV was
The
dope.
2016, I think it was their first
Yeah,
local demo.
that
Yeah.
TV was sick, man. I love that TV. You know how many You know how many times I sold that TV when I worked at Best Buy? I sold that TV to a lot of people. But Ahmad says that Classy doesn't have a bias towards LG, but Tech does. So I don't. I
Wait,
don't know why people
towards
think
as
that.
in like
Like
for LG
against it,
because you're
against it.
generally known as the
Right?
anti-LG
No, that's
guy.
what I'm saying. Like that's what people think of me as, like, anti-LG, but I'm not. I swear, I promise you, I don't care about any brand when it comes down to loyalty. I care
All
less.
right,
I call them all
FOMO
out.
sort of got it. He joked and said Westinghouse. Then he said he watches on the L9Q, which is the same as me. So my main display is a Hisense.
Yeah. No, you could say that I have a slight bias, and it's not really slight because I think the TV technology is just overly better, just better than WOLED. I have a bias towards QD-OLED over WOLED, but that's not a bias. That's just
Yeah,
my
that's not a
opinion.
bias. That's an
Like that's a fact,
objectable
almost.
fact that it's
Yeah,
better technology.
right. That's just like that. What do you want me to say? Um, and I think that's where people, because there's people that fight me about the C5 last year and the S90F. I'm like, dudes, it's not close. It's not close. It is not close. But the S90D actually kind of was, like the S90D and the C4. Like there was reasons to buy the C4 that year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like not
And the
that,
F
not the C.
flipped it
Yeah,
back,
yeah, and the F flipped
um,
it
mostly because the C5 was just being pushed too much, and it was
way too much,
noticeable.
way too much.
But again, those were still overall in general for most people. Like most people just simply don't see posterization.
Yeah. So
If you know what you're looking for, you know what you're seeing. You're gonna like. So here's a little correction. I saw a lot of comments. I didn't get to watch all of Brian's stream. Got a lot going on, but I did see a little bit, and I saw some comments saying that, "Oh, I said that there was no red." No, it was in gaming in HDR game mode. The red was orange, not
oh,
in Filmmaker. I even showed that.
yeah.
Um, and then what was the other thing? Like there was just so many things that people misinterpret or go say like such a cut down out of context whatever version of what's said that the message going to the person. I would just tell any creator or whoever's listening to the chat, assume what they're saying is missing 98% of what they're saying. So that's why it's just difficult. But um yeah, I don't know. It gets kind of frustrating to
it,
sometimes.
it is.
Uh,
Like, let's go back to that question you asked. So that I think that panel would be a Samsung
what?
about the movie watching thing. You said,
No, I said my main display is a Hisense.
oh, it's a Hisense.
It's the L9Q.
Oh,
I'm going to watch a movie.
oh,
I'm putting up a projector screen. I'm watching the
all right.
L9Q.
So you didn't say projectors. I thought you said
I said
TVs.
display.
Ah,
I said display. My
that's a
main display.
that's a trick question. That's a trick. You know that's a trick question too.
No,
You knew
I've said it
everybody was gonna
before.
get that wrong.
I've been saying it for the last however long. Uh, yeah. I mean it's
Shame.
can't
I
beat
expected more
130
from
inch,
you.
and
I
the
expect
L9Q is
more from
actually
you.
really good. The color accuracy on the Hisense UST division is like AAA team. Their TVs aren't necessarily bad, but they're not accurate. Like there's a disconnect between the UST and TV teams there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is. Different people, obviously, but the Hisense USTs are really knocking out of the park in their lifestyle projectors and whatnot.
Yeah. I love the U9. I think it's pretty cool. Um, the what about TV wise? I think it would be a Samsung for you then, right? If it's just TVs,
Well,
like
I'm gonna have a 77 S95 F or H. Like that's just it for this room with the lamps.
get the bezel,
Uh,
bro.
it
Just
Yeah, having the
embrace it.
A12, seeing those reflections, having LGs in here, seeing those reflections. Yeah.
Embrace the chrome bezel. Do it.
Well, yeah. I mean, realistically speaking, there is so many things with the H that's pure upgrade over the F, and there's again nothing really bad to say about the H other than the bezel.
You'll
But as far as value, and like again, I'm only barely ever using the TV, and if I'm gonna watch a movie, I'm gonna do it on the projector. So
when you start hosting those dinner parties and book clubs, man, you'll get complimented so much on that S95H. Everybody will be like, "This is a lovely
No, I think
TV."
people are going to be more drawn to the F with its 0.4, inch body, and yeah, and basically no bezel. I think
Right?
that's the more attractive route than this, but I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. I just think that's such a weird
Have
decision.
you
Like,
found anyone say they like the bezel?
yeah,
You
I've seen a
have?
few
I
people.
have not seen a single person
Yeah.
say they like it.
In my comments, there's a couple people that like it. Now I haven't found any creator that likes it. I know, like most people think it's kind of like the weirdest decision they've made. Um, FOMO kind of gets it from a business standpoint, and so do I. I mean, like the
I
frame
don't,
and
because
all of
I've yet
that.
to find
But like,
the woman of a household that approves of it
right,
either.
right, that's true. That's why I told him he needs to go on the streets with the microphone and interview people and show them the bezel and like two
Like
pictures,
what's
but
that
like
one dude
like you
just
like
chilling on
this
the street or
picture,
whatever?
this
Like that one
picture.
guy that does that
Yeah, dude, I'm telling
walks
you,
through
do it
like
with TVs.
Manhattan.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. You get so much views. I promise you. I'm giving ideas out for free. Um, so the chat is all over the place. All over the
Yes.
place. I don't know what's real and what's not, or what's directed at me and what's not. But that's, chat's organic. They have conversations. We got 100 people
Sancho.
watching. What's up?
Um,
Shout out.
yeah, I don't know that the 83 C5 that I had was barely cracking just over 900 nits, and full screen was like 160. So
Mm.
that was definite not great.
Yeah, I saw some people saying that the C6H was brighter than the S95H. I'm like, no, it's not. You can pretty much take that to the bank. Um, from what I understand, the C6H is slightly less bright than the G5.
Um, that's going to depend on which firmware you're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
With the new firmware, probably not.
You think it's dimmer, like a lot, or do you think it got brighter?
Well, so I measured again the .67 on the G6, did everything, and then updated .68, and no window size was over like 2450.
Oh, okay. Do you think they share the same type of firmware, the C6H and the G6? Because I'm talking about the C6H. D Nice says KG true. So I think that's in regards to the C6H brightness. I also saw that ratings had a measurement. I don't know what else they measured, but it seems like it's in line with the G5 and the S95F for peak brightness. But remember, peak brightness doesn't tell the whole story. We can't just be chasing those brightness windows. Oh, they shared yes, they share the same firmware. Okay. I always found that interesting. I guess they have a way to distribute it to each TV, and they probably have it like laid out in the package on what gets what. I think Samsung does the same thing with their TVs, though. Now that I think about it, like even the WOLEDs still get the same firmware as the QD-OLEDs, and the 95 and the 90 share the same firmware. Let's see. I'm looking for questions in chat. I don't want to miss your guys' questions. I see there's some pushback. A lot of people like WOLED over QD-OLED. Why? Please type the reasons, because I actually missed some of those conversations. And I just want to know why. Like, and when I say WOLED, by the way, I'm not even really talking about the enhanced version. I'm not talking about tandem WOLED, but even if you want to go that far, I'll even say like I do think that still the QD-OLED on the same scale, on the same level, I like it better than tandem WOLED, but I will say it's closer than regular WOLED compared to like the S90F. It's definitely getting closer, but
Sorry for that. I'm back.
it's good. You're good. That's the problem. I don't know if people are talking about tandem WOLED or regular WOLED when they're talking about they just like it better than QD-OLED. Because tandem WOLED got closer, but there's still issues.
I mean, I think if the problem is 99.9% of people don't
Man, you got loud.
have them next to each other to see the issues and like actually really be looking at the right stuff. Like, so this actually, I want to go back. So I was saying a few minutes ago about seeing the chat from that stream with FOMO and Brian and stuff, and like people misinterpreting or not saying things correctly, whatnot. They gave the perception that like I was doing a full evaluation and measurements and whatever else. At that point in time, when I first said I don't recommend the G6,
Mm-hmm.
meter never touched the screen. It was all by eye. It was not looking at torture scenes. My daughter's watching Frozen. I look over and the Frozen looked like crap on the G6 compared to the S95.
Right.
Like, if you are someone who knows how to see posterization and color banding and problems like that, it is all over on the G6 out of the box. Again, some of this can be fixed, but
Yeah, and I
for
think
most people aren't going to be able to tell. A lot of enthusiasts will, however. And if you're spending $4,500 on a TV and there's two options and one doesn't have these problems and one does, I'm not going to recommend the one that has the problems.
I agree with that, but I also disagree that like I think a lot of people are gonna spot it because even if you're not familiar with what it is, it's
It
still
depends on the
ugly.
person.
Right.
Yeah, some
But
people just don't see it.
yeah, but this is something where you would think like, is my TV broken? Is there something wrong with the content? You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, like, you don't have to be up close. You don't have to be doing anything crazy or, certain specific scenes. If you're putting on the content that makes the TV look good, then it'll look good. But when
Yeah.
you're watching actual movies and like if you know what you're looking for and looking at from normal seating or whatever, like I can just glance over and be like, oh, that's wrong. That looks bad.
Yeah. Super chat from Waterfalls. Thank you for the super chat. He says calibrated G5 versus uncalibrated S90F picture quality. I always think
Why
it's
is it
pretty
more
interesting. Why is
calibrated?
one calibrated?
And
Why
why
is
is the
the
more
other?
expensive one calibrated?
um, yeah, interesting question. I think it's also when you talk about two different classes of TV, that also raises another question. Is like why are you getting a G5 and an S90F? Like why are these two against each other? I'm curious.
Yeah,
Um,
different
because
class
different
and
class, yeah. Because when you do go to a different class, then yeah, the S90F isn't as impressive. Like,
I don't know, honestly, between those two, I would still take the S90F, but that's me.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah, and then I guess what room do you kind
assuming
of
same
room do
screen
you
size.
watch and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, I don't know why one's calibrated, one's not.
Mhm.
I have the G5 calibrated. Okay, I'm just not satisfied.
If you're not satisfied with your TV, chances are calibration is not going to change that too
Mm-hmm.
much. You just want the different TV, then get it calibrated.
I'm curious to know why you're not satisfied with it. Like, what's your pain points with the G5, and then we can let you know like if any other TV is better in that respect.
And then Ahmad says QD-OLED doesn't look realistic. Well, a TV's job is not to look realistic. It's to be a blank canvas to show art, and art is not realistic.
Right. People
Very,
forget
very
that.
little content out there is not color graded to perceive or give the feeling of emotion in scenes.
Yeah. That's why
Um,
director's intent is so important because you want to see the artistic vision of the creator. So that's what it's like. If you want to watch a nature documentary, okay, but like
mhm.
that's about it for realism.
Even those are still color graded to whatever degree,
Yeah,
and who knows what they're grading
true,
on and what they want to show from it.
True. There is some stylized nature docs. I will say
Uh,
that.
yeah, and a inherent TV technology is not either one or the, again, it's a tool.
Hmm.
Depends on how it's tuned and um, how it's shipped out from. It's more of a manufacturer's touch.
Yeah. And then I think once you're not like in that realm where you don't care about creators' intent, then it's like do whatever you want at that point, like to the settings. Like it's whatever you want to do then. Like you're the creator at that point. Like just tweak it how you want to view it. Um, that's the way I always looked at it. Like I get this example all the time is like I really don't like the way Superman looks, and I'm like, then change the mode. Like just change it. Like you have control. If you don't agree with the director's intent, then change it. I mean, it's not how I do it, but like it's your TV. You do
My
whatever
feelings
you
on that
want.
is then don't watch it. There's
Oh,
10
that
million
that
other things
too.
you can
That
watch
too.
instead.
Yeah, that too. Like maybe they just want to see the story. There's a big Superman fan, But like, yeah, I agree with that. Like the moment I see that a movie is just like, just I don't like the color direction with it, or just story doesn't hook me as much where I care about it. I'm out. Like there's so many different other content to watch at that point.
I mean, same thing for me with games. Like if a game looks bad, like
I
people
don't
will
play
say
it. Yeah.
graphics don't matter, gameplay does. They
Uh,
matter to a point. If a game looks like crap, I'm not going to play it. Like
yeah.
for a while back in the early or sorry, late 2000s, early 2010s, I like took a break from gaming, and then Far Cry 3 was the game that brought me back in. But Far Cry 3 on the Xbox, um, or sorry, Far Cry 3 brought me back in. Then Far Cry 4 comes out. Far Cry 4 on the Xbox One was so grainy and so hard to just look at. It gave me a headache. I couldn't play it. But playing it on PC or even the PlayStation, or whatever, was fine. So it's
Yeah.
like I just won't play something or I won't watch something if I don't like the way that it looks.
Yeah. No. No doubt. I think for me, it's like video games. You gotta have good art. Like if your art direction is not good in a game, I'm probably not playing you. Like I think art to me is more important than graphics to a certain extent, because there's ways to stylize the game where graphics don't really matter as much. And for that, I actually respect the game more when they're able to do that. Um, but
Uh,
than
so
just like
Ahmad
raw
says,
graphics.
yeah. Ahmad says QD-OLED shouldn't be more colorful than what the director intended. In what way is that a
When?
factual statement? Because it's
Yeah.
not.
This is a question. This is actually a comment we see a lot in the TV space. We see
It all
QD
depends
OLED's
on
oversaturated, or QD
it's
OLED
not.
has more color than they're supposed to be, and that's all false. It's all
It's a
like
tool,
just
and
not
the
true.
software, quote unquote, so the movie or the game or what's being displayed will call for X.
Hmm.
TV's job, when it's accurate, is to deliver X. The bigger pool of color and ability and brightness, whatever that a TV has, means more of the content that can be shown correctly. The TV's job is not to expand X into up to Z.
Right.
But if you're in cinema home or movie with active turned on or standard or vivid or whatever, then that's what you're doing. But if
Yes.
you're in one of the accurate modes and it's a reasonably out of the box, TV or a calibrated TV that has good control, then if it calls for X, you should be getting X.
Yeah, if you're feeding it the right content, and like let's say both TVs are calibrated, so there's no reason for one to be more colorful than the other, but it's the technology that's the difference. That is kind of what we point out when we talk about like QD OLED differences. It's like color luminance, for example. You're not going to get the same level of color luminance on a WOLED. Just not gonna get it. Just not possible. That's the whole thing with QD OLED. That's why people love QD OLED. Um, and I think that's something that people misunderstand as like color that's not actually there, or fake color, or it's oversaturated. It's not oversaturated. It's actually showing what it's supposed to look like, and the other TV just can't do it.
Yeah,
Pretty
and if
much.
you're judging by videos that are, again, trying to capture all of this on a
Hmm.
camera that can only do this means it's going to compress all down into this and will make, like, you could literally record a $200 32-inch TV and make it look like it's a $8,000. You can make it look like a reference monitor, whatever.
Yeah,
Just because
if you depending on what camera you use,
it
for
depends
sure.
on the camera
Yeah.
settings and what you're doing. So just you can't go by compression through video.
A lot of cameras have like computational photography, especially phones. So they are like intentionally brightening the scene and making things look brighter. So like everything you pump in there, like you go to, bro, I can go to like Walmart and I have a TV extravaganza and you're thinking I'm looking at reference monitors or like like
Mhm.
some expensive ass TVs. And it's like, no, that's not the case. That's just what my phone does when you're trying to film TVs. Or if I take my Pocket 3 in there, that's what's gonna happen. But if I take my cinema camera in there and I do like dial it in right, you're gonna see like, wow, these are not great TVs. So it's like it really just depends on the camera and how you dial it in. That's why I put so much care into my camera settings, and like I pride myself on that, dude. Like I spent hours making sure that the camera stuff is right because I try to give you what I see. I tried the hardest. It's not possible to fully give it to you, but I feel like I get pretty close. So, but yeah, no, like that is something we do see a lot. Is like there's just so many misconceptions. Like WOLED has enough color, nothing wrong with it. Now we're getting RGB mini
I
LED,
mean,
which
so
boasts being more colorful than QD-OLED. So
I
like
mean,
this is the
what about
thing,
the like Christie Eclipse, which is capable of basically 100% of BT 2020? That doesn't mean that it's not quote unquote accurate. Like
right?
that's what's used in Dolby Cinema.
Yeah, and I think people get that. I think people get color space confused with color volume and color
Yeah,
luminance. It's totally
percentage
different.
of people who understand color is extremely small, and the number of people who really understand it is probably in the single digits.
Yeah. I would say I'm not even close to being an expert in it. I understand the basics of it, and I understand the differences between like color luminance and color space. It's not correlated. Like there's no correlation to that. Like so when I see people say, I don't want to get a QD OLED because there's not a lot of content that takes advantage of QD OLED, and it's like, but there is. Like there is content that takes. You don't need BT 2020 content. It's not. There's not that exception to the rule thing.
Yeah. And most color most content that has color that exceeds P3 happens to be in a low stimulus, so low brightness color. So
Right.
it's actually darker colors that are exceeding P3 into BT 2020, but people think that it means it's a bright, vibrant neon, whatever color, and that's not the case, or at least
Yeah.
most often.
And you could get Rec 709 colors to look more have more color luminance. Like it does the color space does not matter. Um because it's just the technology like limitations that you're seeing with WOLED where you can't push the color luminance to that degree. And then once you do push it to that degree, then you start to see the white subpixel take over and it's starting to get dimmer and less intensity and it starts to turn white. And you see the same thing with actually LCDs for the most part, which is why RGB is supposed to fix that. And in some cases it does, and in some cases it won't. It depends on technology. It depends on who's using it and how they're using it.
Yeah.
I've seen
So I'll
examples
say
of
the
both. So
Samsung RGB that I evaluated, um, its gamut actually expanded at lower stimulus, which is kind of the opposite of most displays.
right, it's
Um,
weird.
so depending on the content and the what it was graded on and the monitor and whatnot, that kind of goes against the way that it quote unquote should be. Um, and that's just again the capability of the display. The rest of the colors, everything else was already oversaturated. Like that was it the R95 F,
Hmm.
the one from last year. Like
Yeah.
old school Samsung. Everything was
Right.
overbrightened. Everything was oversaturated. That's not the technology. That's just the way that TV was designed.
It was tuned that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see how they tune their RGBs this year. I got
And
one.
also getting into the black bars, like
Yeah.
the the argument used to be what LCD had black quote unquote bars that didn't go gray with blooming. Now the problem is there was blue or red or whatever into the black bars. So you had colored black bars. So
Yeah. So
it's
also, let me hit the
basically
super
rainbow
chat real
makeup
quick.
into the black bars.
Where was it? So he says I was looking forward. So first of all, thank you for the super chat, Nerds Universe. I was looking forward to the LG G6 83 inch, but now I don't know. I'm sorry that we kind of give you the caution for that, but I think it's a good thing that you should hold off on something like this if it is going to be something that you think is going to affect you on a daily basis, which is why we put out these videos and why we put out the information we put out, because we want people to be aware of this so they don't run into it after the fact that they buy it. Um, will it improve? Possibly. And for your sake, I hope it does so that you can get the TV that you really want. Because at the end of the day, that's really what matters, is that you get your happiness fulfilled from your TV purchase. And it does suck that like there's this noise out here, like from us and from other people talking about these issues, but it's just to raise awareness so that you don't feel bad after you purchase it, or you don't see these issues and be like, dang, I made a mistake, you know? I think that's the hardest thing about doing this, is because we don't want people to have buyer's remorse necessarily, like at all. It's not that. And unfortunately, that could be a side effect to talking about these issues, is that somebody does own this set already and they're like, dang, these guys are making me feel like really worse about buying it. And I really hope that's not the case. And if it does make you feel like that, I am genuinely sorry. But we're just trying to raise awareness and hold companies accountable for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the idea is to have all of them basically providing equal level products that are moving in the right direction that's best for the consumer.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then I see a comment, if you're looking for color accuracy, go with Sony. Maybe if you're getting it calibrated, but out of the box, I would say Sony is number 2 or 3 for out of the box color accuracy. Most of that has to do with the way they do their factory calibration to results in a
Hmm.
different like color of white, which affects all colors.
Yeah. Let's
What is the
see.
best 83-inch OLED TV?
Ooh.
Last year, I would say the S95F83. I haven't seen the S95H, but I'm going to assume that it's even better. So that would be get my vote.
Yeah, I actually never seen it. So I was always kind of curious to how they would use that panel, and how they would tune it. I really like what they do with their regular WOLEDs. Like I have the 42-inch S90D. I didn't have a problem with that. So my only thing is like, when you deal with that 83-inch, are you going to have that default to BT 2020 color space, or are you going to have
Yeah,
it
it
on
does.
DCI? Oh, okay, it does.
Yeah,
That's
and it
cool.
doesn't have the color luminance issue that was on the QD-OLED models last year. It didn't have the normal gamut that we would switch to on the QDs, so it was more of a just go
Oh
to
wow.
filmmaker, you're done.
Yeah, that's cool. That's nice. Yeah, I'm glad that you don't have to do that switch into normal this year now. It's like that was kind of a pain to explain, and I think that I probably poorly worded it last year and made everybody think it was worse than it was. Like I feel like we probably didn't communicate that as a whole that great, and it just felt like it was this more dire bug than it actually was, and it only affected a certain amount of people. Which I tried to convey. I was like, hey, like most likely you're not gonna run into this issue. Like
Mhm.
S90F is still totally buyable. Um, I don't know about what changed with firmware updates, but as far as I know, it's still pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. The HIG got removed, but then re-added.
Yeah.
And when the service menu adjustments, some of them got locked out. When they reverted and added HIG back, those service menu adjustments came back. So
Yeah.
at least as of a few weeks ago or whatever, when I last did an S95F on the current firmware, nothing really, nothing
Yeah.
different or whatever from like earlier on. So
Here's a question: which OLED TV is best out of the box? I think for the last 2 years, it's been Samsung's, right? So you would say that
um,
holds true?
it's a bit more of a so like the LGs measure well if D65 is the target,
Mm-hmm.
but D65 looks wrong.
Can you explain that?
But it's like how do you dock them for that when they're doing by the book right,
Right.
but compared to a reference monitor, it's wrong.
Oh, okay. Compared to a
That's what.
reference monitor.
Yeah. Um, and it also depends if you're looking at SDR or HDR. You're looking at game mode SDR, game mode HDR. Like different things like that. But
Okay.
yeah, generally speaking, S90, S95 last year, this year. Well, don't know about the S90 this year, but the S95F, like
Right.
very minimal adjustments needed. Um, Othman tried to match colors on a real PS5 controller and Astrobot controller in the game. So
Wait,
doing
what?
something like that is going to depend on the color of the light in your room and the reflection of the color of your walls in your room and everything else that's
Mm.
going to taint the color of what you're holding. And you also don't know if they color graded the game to match real life, which most likely they did not.
Yeah, most likely no. Is S95C still considered a good TV? We're trying
Yeah.
to buy one or you have one? If you have one, yes. If you're trying to buy one, it better be cheap. Because like it's an older model at this point. Um, I never recommend super old models.
Yeah, so I see the comments right now about contrast setting in SDR that LG cranked it up to 95 from 85, and then Samsung defaults to 45. Which, if you're within legal range, which is 16 to 235 for SDR content, it won't clip.
Mm,
The problem is a lot of broadcast TV. So, like if you're watching sports and sun hits a helmet or whatever, a lot of times that'll exceed legal and you'll be into extended range. And so that's where you can see color shift. So
yeah.
especially when we're at 12, 1300 nits in SDR on an OLED now, which is insane, there is no reason to have extended range clip. The contrast on the LG should be 85. Contrast on the Samsung should be 38.
Yeah.
Like you don't need that much SDR brightness to worry about it. Now, if you're on a projector and you're trying to hit your 100 nits in SDR, then there's an argument to be made about clipping. But we're not in that realm for TVs, so like stop that.
Wow. I just had a revelation. I've figured FOMO. I don't know if you knew this, FOMO, but on Ecamm you can actually type in the question mark symbol in the search bar and it'll show all questions. So easy way to sort through your chat if you're ever like struggling. Wow, that was really nice. So this is a question pretty good, probably for you since you have seen a lot of these variants. Are 83-inch sizes usually less bright than 77, 65, and 55 based on the measurements published for the 83-inch C5?
So the 83-inch G series matches the 77s. The 83-inch S95 matches in brightness anyway. It's a different panel, but brightness basically the 77. It was just that 83-inch C5, which was for all intents and purposes performing like a 77 C2.
Yeah, which does kind of bring the question in, is like the premium models, safe for 83, and then you're sort of like in a mixed bag, like you never know what you're going to get type of situation with the mid-range like S90F and C5 for
Mhm.
example. Like maybe that's where we're at with those, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because
And
wasn't it back not too long ago where 83 inch was significantly less
yeah, I mean, with
brightness?
the T3, the
Yeah,
83 didn't have MLA, so
right. Well, even before MLA, like with the
well, yeah,
G2?
it was basically the 83 C1 just basically carried over with just software changes
Yeah,
until the 83 G4 was the first one that actually had an improvement.
right.
Um,
So unless there's like a reason to have better technology in it, it's like they carry over the panel. It seems like, or that's what they were doing. I don't know.
yeah.
Oh,
Othman 6500 Kelvin is not D65. D65 is 6500 Kelvin, well, 6504 Kelvin. So a white point is an exact coordinate. A color temperature has an infinite number of possibilities.
yeah.
So that's why like ratings still uses 6500K, which means literally nothing.
I was confused by that at first too. I was like, huh? Doesn't make sense. But and then I looked it up and I was like, okay, I get it.
Hmm.
And then you explained it to me, um, one day. That was a while back. um, so
Sancho, yeah. So while there's an LG or the WRGBs are too pink at D65, uh, LCDs are generally far worse at D65 and require a much farther alternate white point. And the problem there is it depends if it's a VA or an ADS panel. And then also if they're applying wide viewing angle filters or whatever, those can alter it too. So again, another knock against LCDs is trying to get correct white on those is far worse than any of the OLEDs.
yeah, I remember you used to fight with those. Um, the okay, so the Z85, sorry, the 77Z8BA. That's that Amazon exclusive one. It's like 12.99 right now. Um, yeah, I've always been kind of intrigued by that one. I haven't had hands on with it. Do you have any experience with any of the Panasonic 77 inches?
Not the 77, just the Z95.
Right. Yeah, I think he's specifically talking about the WOLED from last year,
Yeah.
the 77-inch exclusive. I will say this. I had caution on this TV because when you go to the Amazon page, like the first thing you see at the top bar, it says frequently returned item. When you see frequently returned item, that's usually not a good sign. Um, so I don't know like if they had any quality control issues with that. I don't have hands on with it. I think Brian had it. I don't know if anybody else had it, but it was one that I was like, it's only in one size. It's WOLED. It's Panasonic. This is gonna be like the lowest viewed video ever did if I got this TV. So, yeah, there's not too much interest in Panasonic to be honest with you, for me because not many people like it's not on people's radar. And the unfortunate thing about Panasonic is last year I loved that Panasonic that I had, and it was nice. I almost kept it. The problem is that they might not even be here anymore. Like, who knows what's happening with them because of the whole thing with Skyworth and
Yeah.
that was a straight up acquisition too. That wasn't like the Sony deal where it was like a joint venture. This was like
And
who
my
knows.
problems with the Panasonic were the tone mapping. While they had a lot of different variety of settings, which is good, there was no really good just set it and forget it.
Yeah,
And so like
that was
it
my problem with
depended
it.
on what you were doing, depending on what setting you wanted. Um,
Hmm.
and then also the Z95 with the tandem panel, the dithering was like visible in so much stuff that like you could just go up and any solid color looked like denim, like that
Mm.
crosshatch pattern if
Yep,
you were too
I
close.
do remember
So
that. Yeah, it's unfortunate because I was really hoping for more competition, and now it looks like yeah, it's probably not gonna happen. I think if anything, they'll cut the U.S. market unless they go like a cheaper route. Especially if they have some sort of deal with Amazon in place, then maybe it still continues. But I haven't heard anything, and that's usually not a good sign at this point in time. If you haven't heard anything, And as
Mhm.
far as I know, they were at CES, but they didn't show much. They didn't have any like announcements for that. So I don't love that because I was hoping it was gonna be like a yearly thing, but then you get the news that they were like bought, and it was like, okay, well, I guess they're cooked now. Um, so Dream OLED tech. I've heard a little bit about this. It is a pipe dream. This kind of stuff when you see it, I don't. I'll believe it when I see it. That's how I feel about it. It's cool to always learn about these new technologies. But you have any thoughts on the Dream OLED?
No.
No. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like QDEL, right? Like cool on paper, but there's so much limitations right now that
People think that
make it
micro
come
LED is better than
right.
OLED, but I
It's
would
not.
disagree in many facets that it's not. I deal with those every day, and the issues that they have, especially the, I would say, more reasonably priced ones, but even they aren't that reasonable
Hmm.
for most people. Just the issues those have are not worth it.
My issue is the lines, and it's not even
The
like
panel alignment,
yeah.
the general just color performance. The Most of them have, like, if people think the anti glare on the S95 is bad, there's no way they would want most of the micro LEDs. Like, it's basically like Vaseline across the screen.
Yeah. Like when you see micro LED for the first time, it is impressive like from the standpoint of like it's bright. It can hold the brightness like there in, in front of your
Now,
eyes. But like
model,
the color does not do the same thing from what I've seen. Like I was never impressed with the color on those things. Um but the full range, the full screen brightness was pretty cool when I first saw it. But we've evolved since then. That was way before QD-OLED and stuff, and I feel like I'm more impressed with QD-OLED to this day, personally.
yeah, and there's a big difference between, say, a Christie micro LED and an AWOL or a insert brand that's trying to be affordable.
I don't even want to know the price on that. Christy Micro LED. I don't even want to know the price, bro. I don't even want to know the price. Um, yeah, because I think like a Hisense one is like 86,000 or something. So
I don't know. For my day job, we do some of those and install them and whatnot, and then it's like they're almost, not all, but almost all of them are run by a Novastar controller, and it has problems. It has, like, there's one place in particular that I keep having to deal with where you'll just have like green and pink just specks flashing everywhere, and trying to
mm,
get HDMI to work correctly with it is a pain in the ass, and
that sounds
no
like
one in a
that.
residential situation is going to want to deal with these problems.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
I mean, no one in a commercial setting wants to deal with them, but at least in
Right.
commercial they have the money to deal with it.
Oh man, there was a question about Sony OLEDs. Where was it? Here it is. I didn't want to like forget this because it was scrolling down. Do you think we're getting a Sony OLED this year, even if it's a minor upgrade? I do.
I don't have any insight. Um, I have my suspicions. I think there's a probability of 8 Mark II being updated with a new MediaTek chipset and not much else, which would then be an 8 Mark III, which is a possibility. But
Oh, I love that.
I would say what's more likely is an updated WRGB OLED model in the mid range. I think I
Yeah,
would
that's what I
see that,
think too.
and I think a carryover for the 8 Mark II for the QD OLED.
Yeah. Bravia 6 is what I think, and it's gonna be a WOLED. It's gonna be affordable. It's gonna be more affordable than people realize, I think, and which is surprising because it's like Sony, but
But I would also expect new MediaTek with 4 HDMI 2.1s at
Yes,
least.
that's exactly why I think they're gonna do it, because I feel like they want to. Well, again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, where uh, what we want versus what Sony wants is totally different. They give you what they think you need, not what you want. Um, but the logical thing would be like, hey, we want to upgrade our TVs to the latest spec. Like, it would make sense because, like, how are you going to have a Bravia 3 with 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, but your OLEDs don't have that? How do you explain that to people? So I don't think they want that, but who knows, right? Like, Sony is such a mixed bag when it comes down to that kind of thing, man.
No, I think their focus this year is definitely LCD based with the
For sure.
RGBs, and then next year they'll like. I don't think QD-OLED's dead for them. I think it'll just wait
Mm-mm.
until next year.
Yeah. Nah, like if Samsung Display has an iteration of like a new development on QD-OLED or something, because they always do. Uh, all this stuff is like in the works constantly.
And I would wager a guess that not this year, maybe not next year, but probably 28, we'll see a new reference monitor based on QD-OLED.
Yeah, we got to get FOMO in one of these streams one day. Remember, we used to stream with FOMO all the time. I was watching our old streams, which is like what inspired me to stream again. I was like, man, I miss this. This was fun. Uh, let's see. Dang, I've been going for 2 hours, bro. I thought I was in this for like 1 hour. All right, well, all right. We'll probably have to try to wrap this up soon. Let me get to some more questions. I got another super chat. I gotta hit. I gotta find it. Uh, you little
So early
fricker.
on in the year, I'll just say that like every year I just try to like break it down by price, and I would say if you're a lower budget, generally the Hisense U7 is a safe bet. Um, and then as soon as you're in OLED range, doesn't really matter. You can get a B series, an S85, S90, whatever 800 to $1,200 OLED you find, you're fine. Then you move up into like the S90 or maybe the C series with some updates gets reasonable, um, and then get up to the S95H as like the main higher end flagship premium whatever TV until you get to the point where you need a bigger size. Then you look at uh, some of the LCD models.
Yeah. All right. There's a super chat. So I like this super chat a lot. Thank you for the super chat, you little fricker. Of the name. Uh, I just gotta laugh every time I see it. But thank you. He says, "What regular content shows off QD color, not just games?" I think he means like for QD OLED.
Yeah,
And that's the beautiful thing about QD OLED. Everything that like goes to a high brightness level can do it. So like a lot of content, it doesn't even have to be like extremely bright. Like you'll just
no, I
see
mean,
it.
if talking color wise, Inside
Yeah.
Out, a lot of Inside Out goes past P3.
Right.
Um,
So I don't know if he's talking about the
Into the
color
Spider Verse or
luminance.
Across the Spider Verse, but one or both of those goes beyond P3.
Right.
Um, La La Land goes beyond P3. Um,
Great movie.
the It Chapter 2 towards the end when they're going in the cave and there's green lights, on the walls and everything, like that's all beyond P3.
I've been told I look
And
like
obviously
Ryan
Spears of
Gosling.
Uncle Them.
Yeah. No. Anyway.
What'd you say there?
What regular content though? So like, I is he talking about like color luminance here though, or is he talking about like BT 2020 color? Because like it's two different things. Because you'll see the color luminance thing way more than you'll see BT 2020 color, and not necessarily will all TVs not show that, because they all like have some coverage of BT 2020, just not a full like, just not a whole bunch. So I don't know. Like that's one thing I've always struggled with. What was the whole color space and the color coverage? I don't think it matters all that much.
No, it doesn't. That's why, like
Yeah,
in the projector world, just even being able to cover P3 is like the target essentially for a lot of them. Like with the JVCs, it's do you apply the color filter and lose the brightness to cover P3, or do you drop to like 89% of P3 to have more brightness?
yeah,
It varies on what you're watching, but most people go for the extra brightness in a projector world.
yeah. Yeah, for me, it's always been the color luminance. That was the biggest difference. It to me, it's
Someone
like
said you left.
the
One
difference
second.
between like colors looking painted on and colors glowing. Like that's what the visual difference is. Like to me, how I'd explain it to a normal person. It's just a different look entirely. That's why I like QD-OLED personally, and it's not limited to color space. It could be in any content if the content can get bright. Which a lot of content can get bright. There's a lot of movies that get very bright. Mad Max, Fury Road, for example. You can definitely tell the difference in QD for that.
Yeah, the best scene is when they're going into the desert storm.
Hmm.
All those explosions.
Yep.
But the problem there is a lot of TVs are going to be tone mapping, and it just depends on how they tone map.
I left.
That's where it becomes a subjective thing.
What happened to me?
Yeah, they said KG left, KG come back. So I don't know if
Because I
we're
had the
there.
thing over my
I'm,
head.
I'm confused.
I'm so confused. Am I still here? I hope so. I mean, if they could see you, there's no way. Like this isn't Streamyard, so like if I disconnect, you're gone. Like
Yeah, it looks like you're still there.
okay. I think it's because I had the thing covering my head.
Okay.
I've been doing that all stream is like covering my face with comments. Don't know why. It's been a thing. Um, if there's a QD OLED reference, how can W OLED win the shootout? Hmm, that's an interesting question.
The technology doesn't matter. It is a question of the
Yeah,
content
right,
being graded on the display versus the display that's being judged against it. So the monitor is not going to change how the content looks unless it's new content that's graded specifically on that monitor.
right.
But the majority of content out there is prior to the 3110 and majority is prior to the 310, and a lot of most HDR content was on the X300, which was a WRGB, or sorry, it was a RGB OLED that could only do 1,000 nits in a small window, not full screen.
Yeah,
So, and then now with the 310 and 3110, they don't do true black because they're LCDs. They have minor, but still some minor blooming, and other LCD issues like off-angle viewing issues.
that's really bad on some. I've seen some bad ones. Um, some are better than others, but my goodness, some are horrible. So off angle viewing is definitely a spot where it's always going to be a OLED win, obviously, but QD OLED is still going to be better there because with W OLED you can actually get some pretty serious color shift off angle.
Yep, and that's where the G4 was, in my opinion, the best WRGB OLED because
Yeah,
you could. It wasn't as good as QD OLED, but it was close enough that it didn't matter that much anymore. And then the
right.
G5 went back to basically the same as every other WRGB OLED, and then the G6 pixel structure changes, and now it's like if you're two seats over or if you stand up, then everything shifts. So
Right. Yeah, no. Pretty interesting stuff. All right, let me hit a few more questions and I think I'll end this stream. But, this was a lot of fun. I didn't realize I was streaming this long already. I guess I missed streaming. So
yeah, I have packing to do for a trip
for
tomorrow.
sure.
I leave in a few hours.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry.
I,
Time flew, man. Time flew. Like it really did. This is fun. I really enjoy this. Brings me back to our old days, bro. It really does. Let's see. Cause like at the end of the day, we're just trying to help people, and I think like that's the thing that's missed with all this. is that why we got into it in the first place is to like put out real information that helps people, and we like the technology ourselves. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah, and when it comes to viewing angle, it's not also just being like off angle of the TV, like what most people think. If it's a larger display, depending on where you're sitting, you can be off angle while sitting in the center, because if the outer edges of the TV are outside of your main view and you got to move your eyes a little bit, you're off angle of those parts of the TV.
Yeah. So I'm gonna scroll up. We got.
I just realized this like whole stream, it looks like I'm looking down because the camera's peeking just up over the Mac.
It's fine. You're good. I don't think it looks bad. It looks normal to me. Like, I don't even know where I'm looking most of the stream. I'm trying to look at the camera when I talk, but most of the time I'm looking at chat.
Yeah, hopefully soon I'll get my room set up, not be on the couch.
Right. So I guess let me answer the questions in the title, because that was kind of thing that people asked earlier. It was, is the G6 trash? Let's say no, it's not trash, but it has a lot of problems at
It's
launch.
incomplete. It's alpha.
Yes.
So don't be an alpha tester. Don't be a beta tester. Just pause, wait, give it some time.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to do that. So unfortunately, that's just the state of the G6 right now. It's hard to recommend. I can't recommend it. Classy can't recommend it. I haven't even seen it yet, but I've seen Classy's and I've seen others. And it's just it's not in a state that like you should buy a TV.
And it's not like, would say the same thing about any other TV prior years that had this like consistent firmware changing this, changing that, whatever, like the S95B, whatever.
Yep.
You know, it's if it's in constant state of flux and you don't know what you're getting at any point in time, look at something else or wait.
The next question is RGB legit? I think this is like a question that in what context you're talking about, because if it's legit over older LCD technology, but I will say that when it comes down to cheaper RGB TVs, there's probably not going to be that much difference. And honestly, it could even be a step back, because from most cases I've seen, RGB TVs are using less dimming zones than mini LEDs in general. And it does seem like it's harder for them to control them. So it's going to be interesting to watch for.
I don't know. For my opinion on that is the ones that I've seen and tested, I would place below a Bravia 9. And all LCDs are significantly farther behind OLED than a lot of people will want to admit. But
Yes.
that's the case if you are talking critical viewing in a dark room or, serious cinema type home experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for me
Or gaming.
personally,
Like
I've
gaming,
only
it's not
seen
even close.
I've only seen two. One that I've seen, I do think it is better than the Bravia 9. In my regard, I think I would definitely get it over the Bravia 9. I enjoyed it way more than the Bravia 9. But it is still, does have LCD problems, but it is lesser than some others. And then the other one that I've seen is definitely worse than the Bravia 9. And in some regards, worse than, say, the QN90F. So I'll have more on that in a separate video later on. Definitely stay tuned. I'm going to check out a lot of TVs this year for RGB. I'm going to try to check out like 3 or 4. And then I'm definitely going to check out the latest QD-OLEDs and the latest OLEDs, because there is no latest QD-OLEDs this year other than the S95F or H. So yeah, the last question for that title would be, is QD-OLED dead? And I say no. I think that's a narrative.
So.
I don't know how that narrative got out there, honestly. It's just,
I think it's going to be harder for most people to keep track of what is a QD-OLED when they're buying a model, but I don't think it's going away in any shape or form. I think, if anything, if there's going to be more of them, it'll just be harder to keep track of what's what.
Yep. Yeah, and then a few, just these last questions here, and then I'm out. And we got to. Okay, thank you. Let me hit that, and then another question. Ooh, okay. This is a longer one. Thank you, Ellie. I think that's how you say your name, hopefully. Thank you for the super chat. I have the chance to buy the 77-inch LG G5 for 2K and the 77-inch S90F for 1500. Which one would be the better buy in terms of value and picture? Ooh, that's a tough one. I think for
Not for
me,
me.
it's not for you?
No.
You would just go for the S90F?
Yep.
Oh. Yeah, I think, I don't know, man. The G5 had some promising things about like it in terms
That's not to
of
say across the board,
right. I think
but
for the
what I look for. Yeah.
for what you look for, I'm not sure what Ellie looks for. So I would say like if you're more of a preference person, I think the G5 can be pushed pretty hard and
Oh
it
yeah.
can get very bright, and I think a lot of people love this picture from the G5. And so I think it takes it above what the S90F can do in that regard.
If you're using dynamic tone mapping
Yeah.
and you want the extra brightness, you go for the G5. If you're looking for a better, more accurate experience in filmmaker mode, then for most stuff, I would say the S90F.
Yeah. Um at that price though, I think like you could definitely get that S90F for cheaper if you just wait a little bit longer. The G5 for 2K is a really good deal. A 77 G5 for 2K is really good. Is that like if you're talking about value, that's the better value overall in my opinion. Because you are still gonna get that 5-year panel warranty thing, which could come in handy. You never know. Um, and then also the mount is in the box. I don't know how much of a value that is to you, but for some people, it's nice to have a mount in the box. Are you gonna
I think
tabletop
most people would take the
stand?
stand over the gallery mount because the gallery mount is pretty restrictive for a lot of installations.
True, but it's an extra thing they'll have to buy if they do install it.
Well,
Some
one way or
people are
the
just
other, you
right.
gotta buy
Yeah,
interesting the door wall
true,
mount device.
true. I know a lot of people that actually like this mount, but I've heard
I know from
complaints
my
about it as
previous
well.
situation, I could not use the gallery mount, so I had to buy a wall mount for the G4.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I like them both in that regard. I mean, for the S90F, it is pretty good. It still is a mid-range TV to me though. Like it still has that level of performance. So how
It's
do you
basically
watch
the
your TV?
S35B without the anti-glare.
Yeah.
Alternatively, you could also email me and set up a consultation with the S90F, and I can video call or get on the phone with you and walk you through some service menu changes that will close the gap in brightness,
Yeah.
as well as get it very close to calibrated.
Yeah, and room type also too. Like I think for your bright room, G5 could be better for regular content.
I would say the anti-glare properties for both are pretty similar.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
might
was
be
thinking
a
more
little
brightness for regular content in a bright
yeah.
room.
Again, if you're looking for like super bright SDR or juiced up dynamic tone mapping type viewing, then the G5 is going to have that.
Yeah.
But for dark scenes and color uniformity across the screen, viewing angles, the S90 has that.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, Ellie. And then last question here from. It's like two more questions actually. Steve says 2.2 next year. I wouldn't even. We'll look at 2.2. 2.2 is really not going to be that beneficial, other than like audio syncing, like lip sync issues. But other than that, it's really just not worth worrying about. It's not going to be that beneficial to gaming. For the most part, it's kind of a nothing burger. I hate that term, but it's true. You have any thoughts on 2.2 or?
Until there's something that needs it, no.
Yeah. And I just think that it's not worth it to worry about. Like I wouldn't not buy a TV because next year might have 2.2. There's no realm where that's a consideration for me.
Mm-hmm.
You won't miss 2.2 pretty much is what I'm saying. All right, and then not classy. SD is asking if I'm gonna get the S95H at some point, not right away. It's also like the bezel isn't like something I'm drawn to personally, and I know a lot of people might not like the bezel. So my priority on that TV is kind of lower. I also want to see the G6 with it, and I don't personally want to review the G6 with the state it's in, because I know like how that'll come across. Everybody call me a LG
3
hater,
months
and it'll
later,
be
you have to
over.
throw that review out.
Yeah, so I just not even gonna deal with that. So I'd love to get it at the same time I get the G6. So the 95H is probably gonna wait, unless I get a loaner unit and it arrives, then I'll buy the G6 and whatever state the G6 is in. Good luck. Uh, that's about it. All right. Thank you everybody for stopping by. I appreciate you. You guys have been awesome. And thank you, Classy, for joining. It was a
Yep.
very, very fun stream. Hope to do some of these more in the future. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll try.
You got
So
anything to
I'm
say
on
before
my
you
way
go?
out
Your
to
closing
New
thoughts?
Jersey, New York. If you're looking for a calibration in the next couple days, send me an email.
Hit them up for Oh, sorry. Why can't I point at you? Hit them up. Hit them up for calibration. If you are in, what did you say, New York area?
Yeah.
New York area. Hit him up. He'll calibrate your TV, and it'll be like the best calibration you ever got in your life. And then also hit him up for. I'm not even a point no more. Just hit Classy up for consultation. He'll help set your TV up in a good way. Especially, what's that? You got some new tricks for the 90 series, 95H. You got some tricks.
I mean, yeah, pretty much all the Samsung. So like the benefit of the Samsungs is they're pretty consistent with the service menu adjustments. It's just you have to be very careful in what you're doing. So it's not like something I want to put in a video and then someone screw their stuff up. So I'd rather, handhold them through it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hit the like button on the way out. Thank you guys so much. Check out Classy's channel. See you guys in the next one. Peace.
Yep. See ya.